Digital. This is lesson 3 for the Year 4 data logging coding for climate action walkthrough. And you are awesome. So let's get straight into this. By now, I'm sure you're aware that to get to the resources, you need to come to our website, digital.charity, and then you can just click on resources and select Coding for Climate Action. Or you could go to the URL digital.charity, Coding for Climate Action 2025. Once you're there, again, you're presumably no stranger to this website. That's the hope anyway. Scroll down and then you can choose Year 4 data logging. And just a reminder, we've got other units of work here as well, but we're focusing on Year 4. So Year 4 data logging, and that will bring you, of course, to the drive with all of the lessons in. I'm going to open up the data logging journal so we can have a look at where we might be using that. Because we'll need that for this lesson. We need that for all of our lessons. And then open up lesson 3, which is what we're looking at today. A reminder that for each of the lessons, of course, you've got the PowerPoint and the learning guide, the teaching guide. And if there's any other documents you'll need, they'll be in this folder as well for that particular lesson. So let's have a quick look at the lesson plan before we get going, but I'll focus more on the PowerPoint. So today's session is called 1, 2, Tree, and it's kind of focusing on this big idea of how can planting trees help combat climate change. So our learning objectives are to understand the role of trees in reducing carbon dioxide levels and, of course, therefore impacting the climate in a positive way, using the microbit to monitor temperature in different locations and explore how trees can also contribute to temperature regulation and urban cooling. Basically, trees are awesome, so how can we use them in a multitude of ways? The national curriculum links are here, of course, all the resources that you're going to need, as well as some lesson preparation. So just a reminder, nice, detailed, hopefully detailed enough for you guys, lesson plan for you to be looking at to help you through the lesson itself. Right, so run through of the lesson, let's go. So all of the lessons from now start with checking in on our Broadbean. So if you've watched the previous video, the video for lesson 2, you will know that that video and that lesson was aimed at understanding how we can use a microbit to monitor light and temperature to find a good place, a position to grow broad beans. So hopefully by now the students' broad beans have been growing in that position for a week. So the start of this lesson and all subsequent lessons are to check in with our broad beans and how they're growing. I don't know why my first slide isn't loading, so it's not loading properly, so I'm really sorry for that. But we will persevere. So our students to measure their broad beans height and record it in their work journal. So if we have a look at the data logging journal, you'll see we've got all of these tabs that can be chosen down at the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But at the end, we've got one for broad bean growth as well. You can see that's actually been filled in. And this is view only. If I want to actually be able to edit this, I need to change it and make a copy and use that one, which is what your students are going to have to do. Will have done anyway, so they'll be able to fill this in, no problem. So it's week 1. Let's say my broad bean has grown by 2 centimeters. I've measured that. I type in 2 here. Week 2, I'd add in the height 4, and week 3, 2, 3, and 4, and so on. We add the heights in over time. So we start off with that quick activity. Oh, yay, the PowerPoint's loaded. Cool. And then we move on to looking at today's lesson in particular. So quick starter activity. Probably takes less time than it's taken me to actually talk through it. So the focus of the lesson today is to think about how planting trees can help fight climate change. So a nice short video from Woodland Trust talking about the trees' role or trees' roles in tackling climate change to help set up the idea of just how awesome trees are. And then moving on to think about the other roles that trees have. Just basically, they're just so awesome, trees. I mean, you know it, I know it. Hopefully the students know it as well. So trees can actually do all of these things. They can prevent flooding, cool down cities, reduce pollution, and keep soil healthy as well. So we're kind of hoping to get across this idea to students that growing trees or planting trees, cultivating, maintaining woodland trees, just anything tree orientated is just such a powerful way to protect the planet. Not only does it tackle climate change, but it can have so much societal good benefit as well aside from that. And it doesn't even talk about like our well-being, about being around trees, which is just like another just amazing thing that they do. So having kind of got this message, powerful message across students, we're going to focus on the fact that we're going to use trees, or think about how we could use trees to cool down cities, and at the same time we would be tackling the climate crisis. Okay, so we'll be using the microbit array to monitor temperatures around different areas of your playground or your school site, or an outdoor hopefully area in your school environment, and thinking about where we might want to plant trees as a result of having done some data logging with the microbit. So this is the code that students will be using, and of course, as always, we want students to be understanding the code that we're looking at as well, not just using it. So an investigation of the code before we get our hands on with it is the vital thing. Okay, so we want to have the students understand there are two inputs to this program, and what are they? So number one of the first input is when you would press button A. That gives the instruction to the microbit to do something. Okay, that's a command from me to the microbit pressing the button. Okay, and then I can program the microbit to do something. Okay, some sort of process or output as a result of that. So input number one is pressing button A. Input number two is the temperature sensor. Okay, so we've got a temperature sensor on the microbit. Doesn't always show very well, does it? We've got a temperature sensor on the microbit. Okay, so when we press button A, we give a command and input to that microbit to take an input from the temperature sensor. Okay, and that will then two things will happen. Hopefully this makes sense. Firstly, it will log a temperature data. Okay, and secondly, it will show the temperature on the screen as well. So what we're setting up with this program is two methods of capturing the data. One, just pressing it and seeing what it is there and then, but two, actually logging it over time. So you have a record of them that you can copy and paste and download, like you will have seen for lesson 2, if that's what you'd want the students to do. So how are we going to use this program? The idea is to have the students engage with their local environment, the school environment, sketch a map of the playground, crumb up with like sketch a site plan, or you might have some site plans ready that students can use. Some schools have like maps of the schools that you could already made that you can distribute to students. So either sketch it or produce one of those, and then if needs be, mark different areas like trees, tarmac, play equipment, things like that. And it doesn't need to be a work of art, a circle here for a group of trees, annotated with the word trees, a square here indicating, the playground or a tarmac area, a strip over here or rectangle over here indicating, a bank or a hedge or some astroturf or mugger or whatever. Okay, it doesn't need to be a work of art. And we've got an example in a second. So students will mark up and annotate their school site plan, and then choose in that 5 locations to record the temperature. And at least one of those areas needs to be a tree, right? Because we want to see the difference, hopefully, fingers crossed, in temperature in under trees compared with other areas which maybe are more exposed or have no vegetation. And then have students predict which will be the hottest and the coldest areas when they go and use their data logging tool to find out. So this is an example of what it might look like before. And again, it doesn't have to be as artistic as this, but of course we just want students to kind of understand that's a model solution, right? So we can see numbered on there are different locations. So we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's saying, well, number 1 is by trees, number 2 is astroturf, so on and so forth. Okay, and you might have an allotment or things like that you could use as well. That'd be super cool. So students go out with their site plan and their microbits, and they record temperatures in those different places. Okay, but we don't want to just really be recording once. We probably want to be recording a couple of times, and then even if students aren't aware of like what the average might be, we could say, well, what's the most common temperature? What's the number you see the most under the tree? And that's the number that we're gonna use for under the tree. What's the temperature you see the most for astroturf? And that's the number we're going to use there. Okay, so we get the sort of the mode of the results, if not the sort of kind of the average that students might be used to using. So yeah, I've got ahead of myself, but there we go. We kind of go out there with the microbit, log results, write them down on our site plan, and then take that over to lesson 3 in the work journal where we can type the results in here. So we have location 1, 2, 3, and then temperature in those different locations. Okay, and then having looked at that data, let me open up an exemplar one for you, in fact, so we can see that what that would look like in the actual spreadsheet. Once, there we go, so location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the different temperatures in those locations. Okay, once we have mapped those areas, we can say which of those locations we think we'd like to, if we could, choose anywhere which we'd plant the tree in, and why. Okay, so hopefully drawing that relationship between the hotter areas could use with a tree to help cool it down and create like what we call a microclimate to cool that particular area. So I think fairly, conceptually straightforward lesson. The programming is straightforward. We've got our, our inputs and outputs in there. That's the main thing. And the students predicting their code and thinking about how it works and what it will do. But of course, quite a lot of active time out in the playground. Why it's quite short for me to run through. Wrap up activity, thinking about the role of trees and just how awesome they are. I might have mentioned that. And then thinking about which of these is the students might think is the most important aspect of trees. It's not just about the climate; it's about the broader picture that that trees contribute to our daily lives. Cool. Thanks so much for joining me in this session. See you for the next video is for lessons 4 and 5 joint video. So hopefully see you there.